All right, Chapter 12, Place Value and Multi-Step Problems. We have 10 numbers if you count 0, and the value of those numbers is determined where they're placed in relationship to each other. So we're going to talk about say the number 9. It could be worth 9, or it could be worth 9,000, depending on where that 9 is located. So we're going to talk about place value. Okay, so we have the place value of 1, tens, and hundreds. If the 9 is here, you have $9. If this 9 is no longer there, and I say, you know what, I'm going to take that 9 and I put it here, then it's $90. But we always put a placeholder 0 there, show that there's 0 ones. But how many tens do we have? 9 tens, and 9 tens is $90. And if we have the 9 in the hundreds place right here, 1, 2, it's 3 over from 1, 1, 2, 3, or 3 over from the decimal. Put a placeholder value there, and clearly we have 900. So we're going to keep going out here. Alright, so of course at the very beginning there's a decimal point. So the place value is determined on the place of the number in relation to the decimal point. If you're 1 over, you're in ones, tens, hundreds, which we just talked about. Once we get past 100, we put a comma to separate the first 3 places and the next 3 places. The next 3 places are thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Notice for every set of 3 places, 1, 2, 3, the last 2 places always start with 10 and 100. Okay? So that's a pattern that you can look for. There's always numbers in patterns in numbers. That will help you understand how things work. So after those 3 places, there's another comma, and we're going to add 3 more places, and another comma, and it keeps going as such. So the next 3 spots, I wish I had a better camera here. I'm just using my computer, so it's not always the best quality. The next 3 spots are millions, 10 millions, and 100 millions. Notice the pattern that I told you about earlier. The last 2 places in each group of 3 start with 10 and 100. So this is no different. 10 and 100. And then you just add millions, millions, millions. Very simple. Okay? Okay, and we're going to talk about billions. The book goes into trillions. I'm clearly out of room for my little whiteboard here. So I'm just going to stop at billions. But the next group of 3 numbers is billions. And just like I said earlier, there's a pattern of 10 and 100 right there. So then if you remember 10 and 100, then you know billions, billions, billions. So let's talk about place value for a second here. So say, pick a number between 0 and 9. There's 10 numbers. If you count 0 as a number. We're going to not use 0, so we're going to just use counting numbers. So let's say 2. If I use the number 2 and I put it in the 1 spot, its value, let's act like it's number, or let's act like this is a currency. So if its value would be $2. But if I were to take that 2 and I were to take it and put it in a different place in relation to the decimal, let's say right there, that 2 is not worth $2 anymore. It's in the tens spot, so it's basically saying there are 2 tens. So we're going to put a placeholder 0, and this is now worth $20. So depending on where I put that 2, that will determine the value of the number that you're writing down. So let's move this 2 over. I know kids like big numbers, so let's try. Let's put it there. Is that how much money you guys want? 2. And then you put placeholder 0s in all the other places. Put a 0 for a placeholder. And you're going to put a comma right there. And every set of 3 you want to put a comma, just kind of help you Understand? So now the 2 is not worth $2 anymore. It's still a 2. It's just in a different place. So this is now $200,000. Where do I get the 200? $200,000. Okay? Let's move this to even to a larger spot. So let's put it over here. Let's put it right here. Add your placeholder zeros, add a comma. So now we have 1 set of 3, 2 sets of 3, and we're over here. So we have $10 million. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to say this is a 20. Say $20 million. Okay? That is a lot of money. That's an obscene amount of money. So if you guys, when you guys get rich and famous, make sure you remember your poor old math teacher. Bring me some money. Alright, so let's talk about, we know we can read a number right here, $20 million, but what if there are different numbers and not just placeholder zeros? Let's put a 5 here. How would that number read? Some people would say 205000000. Well, the way we read numbers is we read the number plus we determine the place value by our speech. So this would be $20 million, $20,500,000. So you would say 20 million. That way you can determine the exact value of the number. $20,500,000. What if I put a 3 here? How would this read? This would be $20,503,000. What if I put a 7 here? $20,503,070. $20,503,070. So the best way to learn this is just kind of by demonstrating and then practicing. So you'll have to know how to start with a number and give it back with words, and then you'll have some words and you'll have to write down the number. So let's practice that. But before we do that, let's build a little number sense. What number is in the 10 millions spot? So you look at this huge number right here, and you want to know what number is in the 10 million spot. So you go here. Is this the 10 million spot? No, that's 100 billions. Is this a 10 million spot? No, that's a 10 thousands. This is a 10 million spot. So whatever number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers over from the decimal point, that number would be in the 10 million spot. So the answer is 5. Alright, what number is in the 100 spot? Well, that would be 3 over from the decimal. It would be 9. What number is in the 10,000 spot? That answer would be... Alright, so what number is in the... What spot is the 3 in? The 3 is in the millions spot. Okay? So this is just different ways to build number sense when you're doing place value. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take this number and we're going to write it using words. So you always start from left to right. The first number is in the million spot. So this is going to be 3 million. So now we got this out. The next number is 478,000. So we're going to do 400 and these are not words, these are numbers. So I made a mistake there. Let's write those. So this is going to be 478. I'm out of room on that line, so I'm going to go to the next line. 1,000. And then the last three numbers is 921. Barely had enough room. Okay, so this is how you would write this number with words. Now let's go backwards. I'm going to give you a word, and then we're going to write the corresponding number. Okay, so we have 4,702,000,000. A lot of times people use the word "and" when they're writing out the numbers as words. So make sure you don't put an "and" in between the 702. Sometimes people say 702. The "and" is officially not used. Okay. 702,038. So we know 4 billion. We're going to look for a billion spot. The billions is all the way out here. The fourth set of threes here. So we're going to put 4 billion. Okay, 4 billion. Notice I don't put the 4 under the 10 billions because that would be 40 billion. That would be wrong. So we're going to go ahead, put the 4 here. The next numbers we have is 702,000. So notice this word does not say anything about the millions, so we're just going to put placeholders right there. Okay. The next one is 702,000. So notice the 7, where does it go? Does it go under the tens or the hundreds? So since it says 100 right here, we're going to put the 7 under the 100. 102. Where does the 2 go? Does it go under the 10,000 or the 1,000 spot? It just says 2,000. If it said 20,000, then the 2 would go right there. So it goes under the 2,000, and we're just going to put a placeholder 0 in between the 7 and the 2. And the next one is 38. 38 doesn't say anything about hundreds, so we're going to put a 0 in the hundred spot, and then we're just going to put 38. Okay, so this is 4,702,038. Notice compound numbers like that, 38, 27, 45, we're going to use a hyphen in between these two. Alright, so that's the first part of today's lesson for Chapter 12. The next part has to do with word problems. And since we're talking about words and numbers and how they relate to each other, I'm clearly out of room here, so let me erase this really quick, and then we'll do a word problem or two. Alright, so here is a problem, and it says, what is the difference between the product of 7 and 2 and the sum of 4 and 5? So you guys understand we talked about words that have to do with numbers. And so now we need to talk about operations. What do I mean by operations? Let's say add, subtract, multiply, divide. Alright, so when you add two numbers, the word we use is sum. That's the answer to an addition problem. The answer to a subtraction problem, I guess a more appropriate symbol would be a little colon there. Answer to the subtraction problem is difference. Multiplication problem is product. Division problem is quotient. Okay, so here are the words that go along with different operations. When we're adding something, the answer to an addition problem is a sum. Answer to a subtraction problem is a difference. Multiplication problem is a product. Division problem is a quotient. Okay? Okay, so with the knowledge of these terms over here, we're going to go ahead and solve this problem. What is the difference between the product of 7 and 2 and the sum of 4 and 5? So there's two numbers here that we're going to evaluate. There's a difference between these two numbers. So let's break this down to easier terms. We're going to find the product of 7 and 2 first. So let's do the product of 7 and 2. That's the only thing I want you guys to focus on. Product of 7 and 2. Product means multiply. So we're going to do what to 7 and 2? You're right, we're going to multiply. So we're going to take 7 times 2. Okay? I'll put parentheses around that. That is one number. 7 times 2, you're like, no, that's two numbers. Well, if you take 7 times 2, you get 14. So that is your first number. Okay? The next number is the sum of 4 and 5. What does sum mean? Sum is addition. So we're going to add 4 plus 5 to get this next number. I'm going to put it in parentheses because this is one number. Yeah, it's 2. Well, if you evaluate it, 4 plus 5, you'll get 9. We are not done yet. We have a 14 and 9. What do I need to do? Do I need to add them, subtract them, multiply, or divide? Well, remember back to the beginning of the problem. It says difference. What is the difference between these two numbers? They are different. How different are they? If you want to find the answer to that, you subtract. Because difference means subtract. So we have 14 minus 9, which is going to be 5. So the answer to this word problem is 5.